Never in the history of our law have we ever punished somebody because they carry a virus.
And yet all those laws are still on the books.
With HIV, we can prosecute it or we can prevent it. You can't do both.
Okay, let me get you over here so I get you in here. At least get a shot. And then tell me a little bit about this place. Actually, let me do it from here. I'll get the sun back.
The day that I was arrested, that moment felt so surreal. It was like your life just stopped.
That was my first time ever being locked up. And I'm underground in DC's prison with US Marshals walking around. I don't even know why I'm here.
They could care less about who I was as a person. All they looked at was, she's HIV, what can we do to prosecute her?
Throughout the 80s and the first half of the 90s, AIDS for all practical purposes was considered a death sentence.
People were afraid of saliva, of tears, of anything that came from a person with HIV. Medical providers dressed as if they were taking care of someone with Ebola. We didn't know exactly how it was transmitted.
And then overlaid on top of that was bigotry and bias, because there was so much stigma associated with homosexuality and also with some of the other groups at particularly high risk that were identified early in the epidemic.
That's when criminalization law starts to spring up everywhere, because they seem to think that by putting fear in people's mind, that would help to contain the epidemic.
If someone was charged with prostitution and they also had HIV, it was aggravated prostitution with a greater penalty. If someone spit on someone, right, spitting on people is not very attractive behavior and probably appropriate for some sort of misdemeanor assault or something. But if it's someone with HIV who spit on someone, they would make the charges much more serious, the penalties much more serious.
In other laws, assault or bodily harm, we look at intent, why somebody would commit those crimes, and we talk about malice. But that's not the nature of HIV law. It is simply state that if you don't disclose your status, you are violating the law and you're punishable to up to 25 to 30 years.
In the mid-90s, combination antiretroviral therapy was introduced that is exceptionally effective. Someone who is on treatment and successfully suppresses the virus, it can go to below detectable levels.
Which means that they are not infectious and they cannot transmit the disease to other people.
If I was to bleed on somebody in an open wound and cutting and stuff like that, now with the super ultra sensitive viral load testing, I'm still undetectable because I'm okay.
It's really night and day where we live now versus where we were whenever these laws were actually created and passed.
It's not the deadly weapon that people spoke of before.
And yet all those laws are still on the books.
One of the unintended consequences of the law is instead of providing a safer environment where people feel comfortable to get tested, it perpetuates the stigma and the fear, which drives more people underground and into the shadow.
It's terrible public health policy.
People don't want to be tested because they're afraid, oh my gosh, if I'm tested and I'm found to be positive, then if I have sex with someone without having this elaborate discussion with them beforehand, then I'm actually guilty of a criminal act.
If I can absolve myself of any type of a criminality by simply not being knowledgeable of what's going on in my body or something that I'm carrying within my body, then I may choose to do that. We never know where people are when they go into a doctor's office.
That's really where the contradiction is.
Take the test and risk arrest.
As a mother, just finding out that I was HIV positive, carrying a child that could have been HIV positive, so many thoughts was going through my head. Why did I get infected? Why did my ex-husband did this to me when I was a good wife? I felt like HIV was a complete monster that entered my life. Epicon, did I say that right? I think I did. And I'm on Rayataz. But this is what I take. every single day of my life, and they're my best friends. I ended up having unprotected sex with a soldier in the military. Did not know how to tell him that I was HIV positive at the time because I was afraid of how he was going to look at me. I was afraid that how he would judge me, and the only thing I could say is, you need to get a condom.
No one should ever knowingly put another person at risk of harm, but the ability to disclose isn't quite as simple as that.
They're feeling afraid, they're feeling ashamed, and they're hurt. They don't know what the future holds and what it means to live with HIV. That's a scary place to be.
How do I even disclose my status? How do I do this? How do I get those words out my mouth, HIV?
Well, once I was convicted, I had to go visit the probation officer, and it was there that he just shared some information with me about having to register as a sex offender. And
Is it still on your license?
yes, yeah. And it's good for a year. So every year I have to go and get it renewed.
When I had to do my sex offender evaluation, the lady asked, have you ever volunteered with any children organization? I said, yeah, I volunteered with the Boy Scouts because I was a Boy Scout. And so she placed on the evaluation that he is possibly at risk for child molestation. When I read it, I said, that has got to be the most ridiculous thing.
The stigma that comes up around these things that keep people from being honest about who they are and keep them from getting the help really that they need. And that's the stigma that keeps us really from achieving that end to the HIV epidemic.
They tend to be people who are poor, unstable housing, lack of housing.
Gay and bisexual men, people of color, women, trans women.
You have to find a way to live with this illness, and every day you walk out in the street, you could be sitting in a room and you feel like you have your face slapped by some of the ignorant comments that come from people.
I went to trial, and there was a lot of media attention. All Points Bulletin, this person is the AIDS monster. Of everything that we were afraid of, that's him. It's in everyone's best interest, and I'm paraphrasing, to contact police immediately, because we want to keep you safe.
Never in the history of our law have we actually ever punished somebody because they carry a virus.
More women die of cervical cancer every year from strains of HPV, human papillomavirus, than die of AIDS from HIV. But we don't have HPV-specific statutes out there because it isn't stigmatized in that unique way that HIV is.
I've been living with HIV for 21 years. I was born with it. I'm late starting college because I was in prison for 2 years for not disclosing my HIV positive status before having sex, even though I had an undetectable viral load and didn't infect anyone. I hear a lot of people say HIV criminalization is complicated, but I got what seems to me to be a simple question. Why did I go to prison for fear of something that no one has proven has ever happened? HIV is something I cannot change. Yet because I have it, my rights are less than others.
When you look at the sentencing of someone who did not disclose the HIV status, it's worse than somebody who killed another person driving.
They told me I was looking at 8 to 12 years. I felt like I went out and killed a whole bunch of people. They made me feel like that.
These people have real lives, they have real stories. They have families, they have children, they have people that love them. These are people that are just simply trying to live their lives and be happy and whole.
And I told my attorney, I said, if there's anything that you can do to keep my mom from seeing me ever in handcuffs, please do it.
Also this morning, in just hours, Western New York's so-called HIV predator is expected to learn his fate.
So there's no reason to look at those people as if they're criminal.
With HIV, we can prosecute it or we can prevent it. You can't do both. As long as there are laws that make criminals out of people with HIV, discourage people from getting tested for HIV, we'll continue to be dealing with an epidemic that we're unable to get under control.
Please take a good look at me. You might not see me for 25 years,